If you really love someone and you hurt them, you need to try not to do it that way again. And oops, I'm sorry doesn't always cut it.
I expected my mind, the arrogance of it just blows my mind. My arrogance.
Ali MacGraw, the woman who once made the whole world weep in Love Story with the unforgettable line, "Love means never having to say you're sorry." The 1970 film not only grossed over $100 million, but also turned her into a global icon of romance. People admired Ali MacGraw as a living embodiment of Hollywood's golden glow. Yet, at the very height of her fame, Ali MacGraw gave it all up to chase love with Steve McQueen, the king of cool on the silver screen. Her decision shocked the world, for no one could understand why a star shining so brightly would sacrifice her entire career to enter such a perilous marriage. Behind those romantic photographs lay a darker truth. Ali slowly lost her freedom, suffocated under McQueen's volatile temper and controlling ways. The love once praised as destiny became a steel cage, imprisoning the youth and future of a woman at the very peak of her stardom. That story left behind an unshakable sorrow. Ali MacGraw loved too deeply, sacrificed too greatly, and the price of that passion was a life that could never return to what it once was. It marked the beginning of a journey both haunting and heartbreaking, with the truth behind the glittering facade finally revealed as Ali MacGraw reaches the age of 86. The careers and early lives of Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen. Ali MacGraw was born in 1939, with an inner strength forged through turbulent years. Growing up in New York, she was the product of a complicated marriage between two artistic souls. Her father, a talented painter haunted by mental instability, often left the family with a sense of emptiness and constant worry. Her mother, a resilient and strong woman, fought tirelessly to raise two children amid financial hardships. Ali witnessed heated arguments, endless days filled with financial anxiety, and the ever-present shadow of insecurity that clouded her childhood. Yet that unstable childhood did not break Ali. Instead, it shaped her into a woman of immense determination and ambition. Ali longed not just to escape that insecurity, but to conquer the world. She entered the fashion industry with her classic beauty and quickly rose to fame as a sought-after model. But Hollywood became her true launching pad. Her role as Brenda Potemkin in Goodbye Columbus, 1969, made a strong impression, marking a pivotal moment in her career. However, it was her portrayal of Jenny in Love Story, 1970, that catapulted her to stardom. The image of Ali MacGraw, beautiful, fragile, yet full of life, touched hearts across the globe. But behind the bright lights, she remained that wounded girl, longing for the love and security she had never known. Then there was Steve McQueen, the man the world revered, whose childhood story was equally dark and tragic. Born in 1930, Steve endured a profound sense of loneliness and abandonment. His father deserted the family when Steve was just an infant, leaving him in the care of a mother who was incapable of providing the nurturing he needed. She sent Steve to live with relatives, but the years spent being passed from one home to another, shuffled between orphanages and various families, only hardened him. By adolescence, McQueen had become a rebellious troublemaker, ultimately landing in a reform school. It was there that McQueen learned how to survive, trusting no one but himself. From the shadows of that difficult life, Steve McQueen found an escape. He was enamored with speed and the feeling of freedom he got from racing motorcycles through the streets. His rebellious spirit and undeniable charisma couldn't be hidden, and Hollywood took notice. McQueen stormed into the film industry like an unstoppable force. With unforgettable roles in The Magnificent Seven, The Great Escape, and Bullet, he became more than an action star. He was the epitome of cool, a man who feared nothing, at least on the surface. Yet deep within, he remained the wounded boy, haunted by the fear of abandonment. Two powerful flames, both with cracks that could never be completely healed. Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen, two people with tragic pasts, crossed paths under the dazzling lights of Hollywood. Their meeting was no coincidence. It felt as if fate had scripted a new chapter for them, one filled with fiery passion and haunting darkness. Each carried unhealed wounds and unshakable fears, and when they collided, it was a fierce and captivating explosion, but one that was also dangerously volatile. The fateful meeting on the set of The Getaway. In 1972, under the scorching Texas sun and amid the tense days of filming, destiny orchestrated the meeting of Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen on the set of The Getaway. This was not just an ordinary action film, it was the beginning of an emotional storm that would forever alter the course of their lives. At that time, Ali MacGraw was one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Her unforgettable role in Love Story had made her the symbol of romance and fragile sorrow on the silver screen. She approached The Getaway with both anxiety and hesitation. The role required her to transform from her usual gentle leading lady persona into a grittier character. But perhaps more intimidating was the presence of Steve McQueen, the man whose reputation for arrogance, mystery, and undeniable magnetism preceded him. Steve McQueen, the king of cool with his devil-may-care attitude and piercing blue eyes, was a living legend. He was the kind of man who could captivate anyone with his wild, untamed energy and refusal to be tied down. Known for his iconic action roles, McQueen's allure off-screen was equally potent. He was a complex, unpredictable man, harboring deep emotional scars from a troubled childhood and keeping everyone at a safe distance, even when passion burned brightly within him. Their first encounter on the set of The Getaway felt like a slow-motion explosion. From the moment their eyes met, the atmosphere between them thickened, heavy with tension and temptation. The chemistry between Ali and Steve was undeniable. It went far beyond mere acting. It was real, a powerful connection that everyone could sense. As they portrayed lovers on the run, the emotions that erupted on screen were not the result of practiced performances, but the genuine spark that had ignited between them. Ali was drawn to McQueen's dangerous allure, a man who exuded both risk and irresistible charm. Yet, this love story was anything but simple. Ali was married to Robert Evans, a powerful Hollywood producer who had played a pivotal role in shaping her career. Their marriage wasn't just a glamorous arrangement, it was a partnership built on years of shared triumphs. Robert loved Ali, providing her with the stability and security she had never known in her chaotic upbringing. But Steve McQueen's arrival was like a whirlwind, tearing through everything in its path. McQueen offered no stability, only a life lived on the edge, intense, thrilling, and ready to ignite at any moment. On the Texas film set, Ali and Steve couldn't hide their feelings for each other. Every glance they exchanged, every tender gesture off camera, was closely scrutinized. Their colleagues and the entire film crew saw clearly that their relationship was more than just an on-screen romance. It was something bigger, deeper, and more dangerous. Despite public opinion, Ali threw herself into this love like a moth to a flame, oblivious to the consequences. In her memoir, Moving Pictures, she confessed to the irresistible allure that McQueen possessed. "I was captivated from the moment Steve walked into my life. Sometimes I felt like I couldn't breathe, as if the air was sucked out of the room whenever he was near." The love affair between Ali and Steve was like a blazing fire, magnificent, but capable of destroying everything in its path. Steve McQueen was not a man who offered safety or trust easily. He embodied a wounded soul, tormented by obsessions and painful memories from his past. Even knowing that he was dangerous, Ali couldn't resist his magnetic pull. Their love was far from a simple romance. It was a storm, wild, intense, and fraught with the kind of peril that could obliterate everything. In the end, Ali made a life-altering choice. She left Robert Evans to be with Steve McQueen, abandoning the luxury and stability she once had. When news of their affair broke, Hollywood was thrown into an uproar. Sensational headlines, relentless rumors, and unending public scrutiny turned their relationship into the center of everyone's attention. But behind the headlines lay a love story marked by chaos and danger, a journey of loss and sacrifice from which neither could ever turn back. Marriage and painful sacrifices. In July 1973, under the dazzling lights of cinema and the admiration of the public, Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen exchanged vows, stepping into a marriage that was both enchanting and perilous. To outsiders, it seemed like a fairy tale ending for two of Hollywood's most powerful stars. But behind the happy smiles and public embraces, the reality was far harsher. Marriage to Steve McQueen was no sweet dream, but a painful game where every move demanded sacrifices from Ali. From the very start, McQueen laid down strict conditions. He insisted that Ali sign a prenuptial agreement, leaving her no claim to any assets if their marriage ended. It was a clear manifestation of the fear and distrust McQueen carried from his deeply scarred childhood. Yet Ali, blinded by love, didn't hesitate. She signed the document without a second thought, because at that moment, all she saw was the man she loved so desperately. But McQueen's biggest demands were not on paper. They came in the form of control over Ali's life, suffocating restrictions he imposed. Giving up her thriving acting career was a non-negotiable demand from McQueen. As a man who craved dominance and control, he couldn't bear the thought of his wife being admired and desired by other men. Ali, once the global icon of romance known for her role in Love Story, had to set aside her fame, abandoning the limelight to become the woman McQueen wanted. A stay-at-home wife, a devoted mother, a woman living in his shadow. McQueen's jealousy was not ordinary. It bordered on the obsessive. He constantly feared that Ali would leave him, that she would find freedom and success beyond his control. He monitored her every move, forbidding her from meeting with colleagues or appearing in public without his approval. His explosive outbursts of rage erupted at the mere thought of her noticing another man, even as he openly flirted and engaged with other women without any guilt. It was a double standard that Ali endured silently, feeling trapped in a gilded cage, shiny but utterly devoid of freedom. Ali, once a proud and ambitious actress, now felt suffocated. She had dreamed of continuing her artistic pursuits, living a life of her own choosing. Instead, she found herself confined to their Malibu home, trying to be the mother and wife McQueen wanted. She poured her love into her son, Josh, from her previous marriage, and tried to find joy in the small routines of daily life. But the loneliness never left her. It gnawed at her, making her question whether these sacrifices were truly worth it. But the most painful part wasn't giving up her career. It was the way McQueen hurt her. His harsh words, the emotional abuse, and his sudden outbursts were like knives cutting into Ali's heart. Once, when she merely engaged in an innocent conversation with another man, McQueen exploded, interrogating her for hours and making her feel guilty for something she hadn't done. His relentless control made Ali feel smaller and smaller, like she was vanishing, as if she was losing herself entirely. The irony was that while McQueen fought to control Ali, he allowed himself every indulgence. He attended wild parties and openly mingled with beautiful women, never feeling the need to hide his behavior. He needed no excuse or justification. Steve McQueen lived by his own rules, and no one could force him to change. Ali was left alone, swept up in a storm of chaotic emotions, torn between her love for McQueen and her rapidly eroding sense of self-worth. She still loved him, still hoped that her love could heal his deeply wounded soul. But that hope only dragged her further into the abyss. Over time, Ali realized that this love could save no one. McQueen could not be healed unless he wanted to change, and she could no longer live a life that had lost all meaning. The sacrifices she made, the dreams she abandoned, and the years she spent in the shadows of this marriage, all of it had taken more from her than she ever thought she could lose. But the worst was yet to come. When Ali expressed a desire to return to acting, to reclaim the part of herself she had forgotten, McQueen didn't just object. He threatened her. He declared that if Ali returned to Hollywood, he would leave her. That was the final blow to any attempt at reconciliation. Ali finally understood that this love was not beautiful or redemptive. It was a destructive force. In that moment, she knew it was time to let go. This marriage, from start to finish, was a painful lesson in love and loss. Ali MacGraw had loved Steve McQueen with all her heart, sacrificing everything for him, but in the end she realized that one-sided love could never heal the wounds that refused to be mended. The breakup and the price paid. In 1977, the seemingly indestructible marriage between Ali MacGraw and Steve McQueen finally shattered, sending shockwaves through Hollywood. But for Ali, the breakup wasn't just the end of a great love story, it was the collapse of an entire world she had sacrificed everything to build. The dissolution didn't come like a sudden storm, but more like a small crack that slowly ate away at a wall until it could no longer bear the weight and crumbled completely. Ali MacGraw, once as radiant as the brightest light in Hollywood, was now just a shadow of her former self. She had sacrificed her career, her fame, and even her own identity to please the man she loved more than herself. Yet, throughout the years with McQueen, those sacrifices were never acknowledged. Instead, she was surrounded by control, jealousy, and wounds that would never heal. For a long time, Ali tried to hold on to her marriage with everything she had, even as McQueen grew increasingly violent and cruel. Even as he confined her in the cage he had created, she stayed patient, clinging to the hope that he might someday change. But Ali MacGraw's hope gradually died as McQueen's control and abuse only worsened. The breaking point came when she expressed a desire to return to acting, to rediscover the woman she once loved being. McQueen erupted in fury, declaring that if she returned to her career, they would divorce immediately. It wasn't an idle threat, it was a merciless decree, an ultimatum that Ali no longer had the strength to resist. She had spent her youth sacrificing for a love that could never save her. And now, the only thing left to do was let go. Their divorce was a devastating blow for Ali. Having given up everything for McQueen, she was left with nothing but the broken pieces of a life that had once held so much promise. The prenuptial agreement she had signed in a haze of love now felt like a cruel joke of fate. Ali walked away from the marriage empty-handed, losing not only her possessions but also her reputation, career, and the sense of self-worth that had once been her pride. She stepped back into the world as a forgotten woman, stripped of the glory, the status of a star, and most painfully, the dignity that had once defined her. But the price Ali MacGraw paid didn't end there. She was left to face overwhelming loneliness and an indescribable sense of failure. She had gambled everything on this love, and now, with everything crumbling around her, she was left with an empty life, filled with sorrow and bitterness. In the days following her divorce, Ali drifted into a void. She had lost not just Steve McQueen, the man she once loved with all her heart, but she had also lost herself. She lived in torment, regret, and pain, blaming herself for getting swept up in a toxic love that made her forget her own worth. Steve McQueen, once the center of attention, found no happiness after their split either. His health began to deteriorate, and his reckless habits and indulgence in alcohol and drugs only made things worse. In 1980, McQueen died from a brutal form of cancer at just 50 years old. leaving behind an enormous cinematic legacy, but also a life story steeped in tragedy. Ali received news of his death with a heart full of pain and sorrow. Despite their separation and all the hurt that defined their relationship, she still loved him in a way only a heart once set ablaze could understand. McQueen's passing marked the end of any lingering hope that he might change, that they might one day find peace together in their later years. Following the divorce, Ali spiraled into a severe crisis. She struggled with alcoholism, using the haze of drink to dull the pain left by love and life. But eventually, after hitting rock bottom, Ali decided she couldn't let her life be consumed by darkness any longer. She sought help at the Betty Ford Clinic, beginning a long and difficult journey of self-discovery and healing. It was an arduous path, but Ali MacGraw had endured some of life's worst. She knew that if she could survive loving McQueen, she could survive anything. Her recovery was about more than just giving up alcohol. It was about rebuilding herself. Ali gradually learned to forgive herself, to let go of the mistakes and misjudgments she had made in the name of love. She learned to love herself, something she had forgotten during all those years of sacrificing everything for someone else. In the end, Ali MacGraw was no longer the starry-eyed girl willing to give up everything for love. She emerged as a strong, resilient woman, one who had learned that the cost of love is sometimes too high and that there is nothing more precious than her own freedom and dignity. The journey to recovery and a new life. After the painful collapse of her marriage to Steve McQueen, Ali MacGraw had to face wounds that went far beyond the surface. They cut deep into her soul. She emerged from the marriage a broken woman, stripped of her fame, career, self-esteem, and faith in love. What remained were fragments of a once glorious life, but Ali refused to let those shattered pieces define her. To save herself from ruin, she had to embark on a journey of reinvention, a path to rediscovering the person she had lost amidst years of sacrifice and control. The first step in Ali MacGraw's journey to healing was confronting her struggle with alcohol. In her darkest days, she had turned to drink as a way to numb the pain and fill the void left by McQueen and their tumultuous love. But alcohol was only a temporary escape, and Ali knew she needed a lasting solution to climb out of the abyss. She sought help at the Betty Ford Clinic, a place where women like her, who had once soared to the highest heights only to fall to the lowest depths, fought together to rebuild their lives. There, Ali was no longer a movie star, but simply a human being trying to mend the deep emotional wounds she had carried for so long. The recovery process was not easy. Ali had to confront the pain she had buried for years, learn to forgive herself for past mistakes, and, most importantly, let go of her toxic love for McQueen. The resilience and inner strength that had carried her through a harsh childhood once again became the force she needed to beat her addiction. Ali not only overcame her dependence on alcohol, but also found a newfound peace within herself. A sense of tranquility she had craved throughout her years living under the shadow of a man she had once loved with all her heart. After leaving the Betty Ford Clinic, Ali MacGraw decided she no longer wanted the blinding lights of Hollywood. Instead, she sought a simpler, quieter life where she could live for herself, not to please anyone else. In 1994, she left the bustling world of show business behind and moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, a place that couldn't be more different from the fast-paced, glamorous life of Los Angeles. Here, she was no longer Ali MacGraw, the movie star, but Ali MacGraw, the woman, searching for inner peace. Santa Fe brought a miraculous rebirth for Ali MacGraw. In the quiet embrace of this serene land, she began living a new life, focusing on the enduring values she had once forgotten. She learned to appreciate the simple things, spending time nurturing herself through yoga and meditation. Yoga became an essential part of Ali's life, helping her find balance and reconnect with her spirit. Not only did she practice for her own well-being, but she also collaborated with yoga master Eric Schiffman to release the video Ali MacGraw, Yoga, Mind and Body, spreading the spirit of yoga to millions across America. The video quickly became a sensation, popularizing Hatha yoga and proving that Ali could still make a profound impact without Hollywood's glitz and glamour. But Ali's new life wasn't solely about self-care. She became a tireless advocate for animal rights, using her fame to raise awareness about animal welfare issues. Ali engaged in numerous campaigns, from filming public service announcements for PETA to writing the foreword for Paul, Prince of Katrina, a book recounting animal rescue efforts after Hurricane Katrina. For Ali, protecting animals was more than just a cause. It was a mission, a way to give back and make amends for the hardships life had taken from her. As she entered her later years, Ali MacGraw was no longer the young woman blinded by love, but a seasoned, strong, and independent individual. She learned to love herself, finding joy in small things like gardening, painting, and spending time with old friends. She even reunited with her beloved co-star Ryan O'Neal for the play Love Letters in 2016, an event that brought joy and stirred beautiful memories of a once glorious past. Ali held no regrets for what had happened, not even the deep pains she had endured. She had lived a life far from easy, but she never let failures and heartaches define her. Instead, she used them to grow, becoming a woman filled with resilience and peace. Ali MacGraw understood that love often comes at a high cost, but the most important thing is to never lose oneself. And though she once weathered the great storms of love and fame, she ultimately found tranquility within her own heart, a peace that no amount of money or fame could ever buy. Legacy and life lessons. Ali MacGraw emerged from years of turmoil and crisis as a stronger and more resilient woman than ever before. When reflecting on her life, Ali MacGraw is remembered not only as a talented actress, but also as a woman who endured and overcame profound pain. Her marriage to Steve McQueen left scars that could never be erased, yet it also catalyzed her growth and rebirth. Steve McQueen, the man she once loved so passionately, taught her the bitter lesson that love is not always enough to save someone, especially when that person cannot escape the harsh truths of their past. From this relationship, Ali learned that no one can sacrifice themselves endlessly for love without losing their sense of self, and that sometimes leaving is the only way to save yourself. Ali MacGraw's legacy extends beyond her films and the lessons of love and loss. It encompasses her significant contributions to mental health awareness and animal welfare. She used her fame to highlight the importance of mental well-being, from openly discussing her struggles with addiction to becoming a symbol of healing. She also helped change society's perception of the power of meditation and yoga, promoting these practices not only as ways to maintain physical health, but also as tools for finding inner peace. Even more notably, Ali MacGraw became a dedicated advocate for animal rights. She devoted her life to protecting vulnerable and abandoned creatures, using her celebrity status to draw attention to animal welfare issues. As an ambassador for Animals Asia, Ali became a powerful voice for animals who couldn't speak for themselves, setting an example of compassion and responsibility. Her actions were more than a duty. They became an integral part of her legacy, a legacy defined by empathy and dedication. The greatest lesson Ali MacGraw leaves the world is one of recovery. She showed that it is never too late to change, to heal, and to rediscover yourself. Her life was far from perfect, filled with mistakes and heartache, but she never let those experiences define her. Instead, she used her pain as a driving force to move forward and create a more meaningful life. Ali MacGraw proved that resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about rising every time, stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Today, in her 80s, Ali MacGraw lives a simple, peaceful, and meaningful life. She spends her days painting, meditating, and caring for rescued dogs, savoring every moment with deep gratitude. She no longer needs Hollywood's spotlight to prove her worth. Instead, she finds happiness in the small joys that simplicity brings. Her new life stands as a testament to true freedom. Freedom from the chains of the past, freedom from the pressure to please others, and the freedom to love herself fully. Ali has lived, loved, stumbled, and healed, and finally found peace in a life she can call her own. Ali MacGraw has lived a life full of turbulence, from dazzling fame and heartbreaking love to a journey of rebirth in quiet solitude. What makes her truly remarkable is not her iconic roles or her legendary romance with Steve McQueen, but the way she rose above it all, stood back up, and discovered freedom within her own soul. Her story leaves us with a reflection. True freedom does not lie in love or fame, but in the ability to love ourselves and to live the life we truly long for. If you resonate with Ali MacGraw and her journey of rediscovery, leave a comment saying, "Yes, Ali MacGraw." If your heart leans toward Steve McQueen, the flawed yet fiercely passionate man, leave a comment saying, "Yes, Steve McQueen." Each choice opens a different perspective, yet together they form part of a love story that has become a true Hollywood legend. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the upcoming videos filled with unique and captivating stories about the lives of Hollywood stars and influential figures around the world. See you in the next video.